Have you been feeling extremely ill and exhausted for months or even years without anyone being able to explain why? Are you struggling with a wide range of symptoms that severely limit your life on every level? Do you wish you could have your old, healthy life back and do the things that once felt normal and effortless? If so, this video is for you. In this video, I'll show you how a state of chronic exhaustion develops and, most importantly, what you can do to gradually recover and reclaim your life, step by step. We'll use a scientifically grounded approach that also helped me fully recover. My name is Chris, and I personally lived with a chronic exhaustion condition for 6 years. Today, I'm completely healthy again and full of energy. From my own experience, I know that healing is possible. And that's exactly why my goal is to support others on their way back to health. Who is this video for? This video is for you if you've been feeling extremely exhausted and unwell for months or years without a clear explanation. If you're dealing with countless symptoms that severely restrict your life in every area. If things that once felt normal are no longer possible. If even the smallest effort leads to a noticeable worsening of your condition for days. If you've gone from doctor to doctor, had countless tests done, and everything comes back normal or unremarkable, even though you know that nothing feels normal. If you feel misunderstood or not taken seriously by doctors or the people around you. If you feel overwhelmed and desperate because it's clear that you're ill, but no one can tell you why or what really helps. And if, despite everything, you still haven't received a clear diagnosis. This video is also for you if you have received one of the following diagnoses or suspect that you might have one. Long COVID, post-vac syndrome, fibromyalgia, ME/CFS, post-viral fatigue, for example after Epstein-Barr, influenza, dengue, Ross River, or SARS. Post-treatment Lyme disease, POTS, multiple chemical sensitivity, MCS, mast cell activation syndrome, MCAS, or related conditions. You might be wondering why I'm addressing all these conditions together. The reason is that although they can have different triggers, they often share the same underlying pattern. Very often, these conditions point to the same core problem. And because of that, the path toward healing is essentially the same. In that sense, the specific name of your diagnosis is less important. What matters is that these chronic exhaustion conditions often stem from the same root issue, which means the healing process follows the same fundamental principles. If we want to understand how healing is truly possible, we first need to understand how these conditions develop in the first place. Only when we understand the cause can we begin to change something in a meaningful way. That's why this video is structured into 5 interconnected parts. First, facts we need to acknowledge. Second, what the underlying cause of our illness is. Third, why the illness becomes chronic. Fourth, what can we do to recover and regain our health. And fifth, a brief introduction to the healing program, a flexible video-based program designed to support you step by step on your path to recovery. I recommend watching this video from beginning to end so you can fully understand the bigger picture. Only then will all the pieces come together, allowing you to address your condition as effectively as possible. If you prefer to jump to a specific section, you'll find chapters and timestamps listed in the description below. Before we begin, it's important for me to clarify that this video does not replace medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. It provides general information about mindfulness and self-regulation and does not promise a cure. If you have health concerns or ongoing or acute symptoms, please consult a qualified medical professional. At the same time, as a trained meditation teacher and based on my personal experience, I am convinced that a mindfulness-based approach can be an effective path toward healing. To get the most out of this video, I invite you to listen with an open mind. Many of us carry strong beliefs about what caused our illness and why it persists. Some of these beliefs may be true, others may not be. For the duration of this video, I invite you to gently set them aside and simply listen. This creates space for new perspectives. And in my experience, it's often these new perspectives that open the door to healing. With that, let's move on to the first part. Facts we need to acknowledge for healing to become possible. You are not alone. Your illness and symptoms are real. These conditions are relatively common and medically recognized. Improvement and full recovery are possible. Many people experience significant improvements and some recover fully. Even though these are often called chronic conditions, the term chronic simply means that the illness lasts a long time, not that it is unchangeable. Improvement and healing are possible with patience, the right approach, and appropriate support. Healing requires your active participation. No one else can walk this path for you. If your goal is to regain your health and your freedom, I can guide you and show you the way. But you are the one who has to take the steps. Healing requires a holistic perspective. It's important to step back and look at the bigger picture. With these complex and demanding conditions, it's easy to lose perspective by focusing only on individual symptoms or details. What we need is a holistic view that helps us see the common pattern. That's exactly what I am to offer in this video. The trigger alone is not the cause. Even if your illness was triggered by a specific event, that is only part of the story. In reality, there is no single event that can fully explain a chronic exhaustion condition. The trigger is usually just a straw that breaks the camel's back. This trigger might be a viral infection, surgery, an injury, or a highly stressful life event. But these events alone do not explain why the body fails to recover afterward. The real issue is the overall load, stress and strain that have built up over months or years and eventually overwhelm the system. Body and mind are inseparably connected. What we think and feel affects the body, and what we experience in the body affects our thoughts and emotions. This constant interaction can easily turn into a vicious cycle that creates and reinforces symptoms. Stress plays a central role. The challenge with stress is that we're often not aware of it, and we often misunderstand what stress actually is. If you're thinking, I don't feel stressed at all, then I can understand that. When I was ill, I thought exactly the same. Looking back, I can now see that I was under enormous inner tension. Just because we don't feel stressed doesn't mean that we are actually not stressed. Stress can arise on different levels. Mentally, through rumination and certain thinking patterns. Emotionally, through fear, frustration, or overwhelm. And physically, through exercise, injuries, infections, or unhealthy nutrition. What makes this especially difficult is that much of this stress happens unconsciously, while still placing a constant load on the body day after day. Stress is cumulative. Many small stressors add up. 10 seemingly small things, poor sleep, too many emails, tense conversations, self-criticism, perfectionism, noise, an overfilled schedule, together create a large overall burden. The stress reaction. This is the body's alarm system. It immediately switches to danger mode. Heart rate and blood pressure rise, muscles tense, and stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol are released. The body mobilizes energy to fight or flee. At the same time, functions like digestion, sleep, and repair are dialed down. Short-term acute stress is normal and helpful. It allows us to respond and adapt. The problem arises when stress is too intense, too frequent, or lasts too long. Chronic stress makes us ill. When the stress reaction remains constantly activated, the body gets stuck in survival mode. Recovery can no longer happen. The immune system, digestion, sleep, hormones, and energy regulation fall out of balance. The result is exhaustion, pain, breathing problems, sleep disturbances, heart palpitations, sensory hypersensitivity, digestive issues, and brain fog. In other words, too much stress overwhelms the body and leads to illness. In stress mode, the body cannot heal. As long as we remain under chronic stress, the body stays in survival mode. Processes like digestion, sleep, and repair are reduced. But these are exactly the functions we need for healing and regeneration. Only when the body shifts into a state of calm and relaxation can it repair tissue, calm inflammation, rebuild energy, and ease symptoms. True healing addresses the cause, not just the symptoms. As long as we only try to fight symptoms, real healing remains out of reach. To truly recover, we need to leave the stress mode and return to the state of relaxation. How this works in practice is something we'll explore later in this video. With these facts in mind, we can now move on to the second part. What is the cause of our illness? As mentioned earlier, the cause is not a single event, such as an infection, a vaccination, an accident, or surgery. These are triggers, not the cause itself. These conditions develop through the interaction of multiple factors over a long period of time. The real cause is long-term stress overload. This overload does not happen suddenly. It builds up gradually over months or even years, often without us noticing. Physical, emotional, and mental stressors accumulate until the overall load becomes too much. At some point, this load becomes so heavy that our system falls out of balance. When this happens, the body can no longer function properly, and that's when the typical symptoms begin. Exhaustion, pain, sleep disturbances, brain fog, sensory hypersensitivity, breathing difficulties, and many others. This means our body is not broken. It is overwhelmed. And this state of overwhelm can be reversed. When we reduce the stress load and calm the nervous system, the body can begin to regulate itself again, repair and heal. We'll look at how this works in more detail later in this video. Put simply, illness develops when our nervous system is overloaded, and healing happens when it is able to settle and calm down again. To better understand how such a stress overload develops in the first place, let's look at a simple model. Essentially, stress arises from the interconnection of three factors: our genetics, external stressors, and internal stress patterns. Our genetics influence how sensitive we are to stress and how quickly we recover from it. They can partly explain why some people are more resilient to stress than others. However, genetics alone do not fully explain any of these conditions we're talking about. There is no single genetic marker that clearly determines our condition. Genes don't make us ill by themselves, but they can increase vulnerability when other factors are present. In addition to genetic predisposition, external stressors play a major role. This is stress that comes from outside and places additional strain on our system. These include, for example, environmental factors such as noise, pollutants, or mold, demands from work, studies, or school, such as performance pressure, deadlines, or insecurity, major life changes such as moving, divorce, childbirth, or the loss of a loved person, social stressors like conflict, loneliness, or caregiving responsibilities, technology-related stress from information overload or constant availability, health-related stressors such as infections, injuries, or unhealthy nutrition, financial worries due to debt, job loss, or inflation, constant time pressure in everyday life, political uncertainty such as wars or global crises, and expectations, for example, the pressure to always function or be successful. Over time, all these stressors can accumulate. Each one on its own may seem manageable, but together they create an ever-growing overall stress load. The third factor is internal stress patterns. This is stress that comes from within and that we often create ourselves, usually unconsciously. These are patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving that we develop over the course of our lives. This happens without us noticing, and therefore it is not our fault. Still, these patterns can significantly intensify inner stress. In our case, the following stress patterns are often particularly pronounced: perfectionism, wanting to do everything flawlessly and getting lost in details; achievement orientation, constantly pushing ourselves to do more and struggling to rest; self-criticism, being harsher with ourselves than we would ever be with others; people-pleasing, saying yes too often and putting others' needs before our own; fear of judgment, being highly concerned about what others think and avoiding conflict; worrying and rumination, constantly thinking about the past or the future; catastrophizing, always expecting the worst; need for control, wanting to have everything under control and struggling with uncertainty; and trauma, when past emotional injuries continue to affect us in the present. Like me, you may recognize yourself in many of these patterns. Many of us do, because these patterns are very typical in the conditions we're talking about. They all create inner pressure, and the stronger they are, the greater the overall stress load becomes. This is not about assigning blame. These patterns are not something we consciously chose. We learned them unconsciously over the course of our lives. What matters is recognizing them and learning to relate to them differently. This is a central part of the healing process, which we'll return to later in this video. So when genetic predisposition, numerous external stressors, and strong internal stress patterns interact over a long period of time, chronic stress overload develops. Every person has an individual stress threshold, a point up to which the body can still compensate. Once this threshold is exceeded, the system falls out of balance. At this point, a single additional trigger, such as a viral or bacterial infection, a vaccination, an accident, surgery, or a highly stressful life event, can be enough for the system to tip over. This is the moment when the illness becomes visible. We crash. The trigger is not the actual cause. It is the straw that breaks the camel's back. As a result of this overload, the autonomic nervous system becomes dysregulated, and this is what leads to the symptoms we know. So then, what is the autonomic nervous system? The autonomic nervous system is the control center of our body. It influences almost everything: the immune system, hormones, energy production, muscles, digestion, cardiovascular functions, breathing, reproduction, the urinary system, and even the skin. It consists of two parts, which we can think of like a gas pedal and a brake. The sympathetic nervous system is the gas pedal. It drives activity, performance, and reactions to danger. This is the stress mode. The parasympathetic nervous system is the brake. It stands for rest, digestion, and regeneration. This is the relaxation mode. In a healthy state, these two systems alternate harmoniously. When there is demand, the body presses the gas pedal, and afterward, the brake allows recovery. Our body is designed to spend most of the time in a calm, restorative state and only switch briefly into stress mode. However, when stress is too intense or lasts too long, the gas pedal stays pressed. The body remains constantly activated and no longer finds rest. Eventually, the system tips over. We may feel either overactivated, restless and tense, or completely exhausted and empty. Instead of recovering, the body swings back and forth between tension and exhaustion. This leads to the typical symptoms: persistent fatigue, pain, sleep problems, brain fog, digestive issues, breathing difficulty, heart palpitations, sensory hypersensitivity, hormonal fluctuations, anxiety, mood swings, and many more. These symptoms are real. They are the result of an overloaded nervous system. Again, this means our body is not broken. It is overwhelmed. And this overwhelm can be regulated again when we gradually reduce the stress load and calm the nervous system. The body can begin to repair and heal itself. The solution, therefore, lies in leaving the stress mode and strengthening the relaxation mode. That is exactly the goal of the healing program. Now that you've seen that chronic stress overload is the underlying cause of our illness, we can move on to the third part. What makes our illness chronic? Why do so many of us fail to truly recover for months or even years, despite trying so many different things? The main reason is that the illness itself becomes a major source of stress. It places a heavy burden on us, physically, mentally, and emotionally. This illness-related stress adds to an already overloaded system. As a result, our overall stress load exceeds what the body can still compensate for. Because of this, the nervous system remains chronically overwhelmed and stuck in an alarm state. In this constant stress mode, it is practically impossible for the body to heal. This illness-related stress develops through a negative stress spiral, which we can look at using a simple model. Symptoms lead to worry and resistance. Worry and resistance lead to more stress. More stress keeps the nervous system in alarm state, and this in turn further intensifies the symptoms. Let's look at this model using a concrete example, exactly the way many of us experience it. It usually starts with symptoms, such as persistent exhaustion, pain, sleep problems, brain fog, breathing problems, dizziness, or sensory hypersensitivity. These symptoms are real and they are distressing. Naturally, we start to worry, search for explanations, and fight against them. But this constant worrying, analyzing, and fighting keeps the stress reaction active and increases our overall stress load. The body stays on high alert instead of being able to rest and recover. As a result, the symptoms persist and often intensify. With every new medical test, every unsuccessful treatment, and every disappointment, the inner pressure grows. We hope we're disappointed. We keep ruminating, and the stress load continues to rise. The nervous system becomes even more dysregulated, and the symptoms increase further. We desperately search for answers, try many different approaches, and yet nothing seems to change in a lasting way. Every disappointment, every new symptom, every setback adds more stress. The autonomic nervous system falls further out of balance, which again intensifies the symptoms. Over time, the illness itself becomes the greatest source of stress. It is constantly present in our body, our thoughts, and our daily life. We wake up with it and go to sleep with it. Thoughts like, how is this supposed to go on? Or, will I ever get better? Become constant companions. We feel misunderstood, left alone, and helpless. We lose trust in our body because it no longer functions the way we used to know. These thoughts and emotions create additional stress, further burdening the nervous system, and once again reinforcing the symptoms. In this state, the stress reaction keeps running continuously, even when there's no immediate danger. The body remains stuck in stress or survival mode. Heart, immune system, digestion, hormones, sleep, and energy production all fall out of balance. This explains why the illness becomes chronic. Not because the body is broken, but because it is trapped in a state of ongoing overload and stress. The good news is, this cycle can be interrupted. When we learn to relate to our symptoms differently, with less worry and resistance, and more with calm and acceptance, we reduce stress and allow the nervous system to begin settling down. The body can start to regulate itself, repair, and heal. Healing does not happen by fighting harder, but by stepping out of the fight. With that, we move on to the fourth part of this video. What can we do to get better again? As we've seen, the underlying cause of our illness is chronic stress overload. As long as our overall stress load exceeds our individual stress threshold, the nervous system remains in a state of constant overload, and healing cannot take place. For healing to become possible, we need to reduce our stress load to a point where it falls below our individual stress threshold. Only then can the nervous system calm down, the body start functioning normally again, and symptoms begin to ease. So how do we reduce our stress load? One of the most effective ways to do this is mindfulness. Research clearly shows that regular mindfulness practice reduces stress, stabilizes the nervous system, and supports healing processes. Mindfulness means coming into the present moment and simply observing what is happening without fighting against it. Instead of reacting automatically to symptoms or difficult situations with worry, frustration, or resistance, we learn to pause, breathe, and respond in a calmer and more conscious way. This is exactly how inner pressure decreases, the nervous system relaxes, and the body gets the space it needs to regulate itself and heal. To truly reduce stress, we first need to understand how stress arises in the first place. We often believe that stress is caused directly by a situation or an event, but that's not entirely true. In reality, most stress arises from how we react to what is happening. In other words, it's less about what happens and more about how we react to it. Our reaction largely determines how much stress we experience. These reactions usually happen automatically and unconsciously. So the first step in reducing stress is becoming aware of these automatic reactions. The second step is learning to relate to difficult symptoms, thoughts, and situations in a calmer, more understanding, and more conscious way. At its core, this is about replacing automatic, stressful reactions with conscious, mindful responses. This is how stress is reduced. This principle applies to all areas of our lives: illness-related stress caused by symptoms, as well as external stressors and internal stress patterns. Whenever we become aware of a difficult situation and respond more calmly and thoughtfully, stress decreases. Let's look at this again using the stress spiral we discussed earlier. We know the cycle that keeps us stuck. Symptoms lead to worry and resistance create stress, stress overloads the nervous system, and this in turn intensifies the symptoms. Many parts of this cycle are not directly under our control. Symptoms are there. The nervous system reacts automatically. Stress is the result of many interacting factors. But there is one point where we do have influence, and this is where the biggest leverage lies, in how we respond to our symptoms. When we begin to respond less automatically with worry and resistance, and more consciously with calm and acceptance, the entire cycle starts to change. This mindful response reduces stress, the nervous system settles, and the body can begin to regulate itself again. Symptoms ease, which gives us confidence and trust, and that further reduces stress. Step by step, a positive spiral develops, in which calm, stability, and healing reinforce each other. The same principle applies in everyday life. When we encounter a stressful situation, such as a conflict, time pressure, or a difficult emotion, we often react automatically with anger or frustration. If instead we pause, take a breath, and practice to respond more calmly and compassionately, inner pressure immediately decreases. This calms the nervous system, and in this way, we gradually reduce stress in daily life as well. When we learn to respond a bit more mindful to all kinds of stressors, the overall stress load begins to drop relatively quickly. As soon as the stress load falls below our individual stress threshold, the autonomic nervous system can return to its natural balance. From that point on, the body starts working harmoniously again. Energy, regeneration, and health gradually return. It's important to understand that small changes can have a big impact over time. If we respond just 1 or 2% more calmly to our symptoms each week, it may hardly be noticeable at first, but over weeks and months, these small, consistent changes add up. Over time, they can significantly stabilize the nervous system and noticeably improve our well-being. I am convinced that mindfulness is the single most effective key to healing. The reason is simple. It directly addresses the root of the problem, chronic stress overload, which dysregulates the nervous system and keeps the illness going. The good news is that mindfulness is a skill anyone can learn, step by step. As we become more mindful, we automatically reduce stress, calm the nervous system, and create the foundation for healing. That is exactly why I created the Healing Program. It supports you in learning mindfulness and apply it in everyday life to effectively reduce stress and support your body's natural healing processes. Mindfulness was the decisive key in my own recovery, and I am convinced it can help you as well. Of course, there are other approaches that can support recovery, such as medical care, alternative therapies, symptom management, pacing, social support, mental health support, lifestyle adjustments, physical activity, sleep, and diet. These approaches can be helpful and are also addressed in the Healing Program, but they are secondary. The main focus is on mindfulness because it directly targets the core issue, chronic stress. And with that, we come to the final part of this video. What is the Healing Program? The Healing Program is an 8-week video-based program that offers you a clear path toward healing. It is designed for people who have been experiencing severe exhaustion and a wide range of symptoms for a long time and who are ready to actively change their situation. Many of us have already been through countless doctor's appointments and medical tests, often without receiving a clear explanation or lasting improvement. This program is informed by the science-based MBSR approach, which stands for Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. It helps reduce stress, calm the nervous system, and support the body's natural healing processes. You can take part in the program from the comfort of your own home, using your phone, tablet, or computer, and move through it at your own pace. Because it consists of many short video lessons, you can take breaks whenever you need them. To give you a clear sense of what to expect and how to help you decide whether the Healing Program is right for you, we'll now take a closer look at the 8 video modules. Module 1. Discovering Mindfulness. There is more right with us than wrong. In this module, you'll learn what mindfulness really means and how it helps you move from constant stress into genuine calm. We begin by understanding that many of our reactions in everyday life happen automatically. We often function on autopilot without truly noticing what's going on inside us. And this is exactly what tends to keep stress going. Here, you'll learn to recognize this autopilot mode and gently step out of it. You practice becoming aware of what is happening right now, without immediately judging it or fighting against it. This brings calm to both body and mind. Pressure and tension begin to ease, even when symptoms are strong. We explore how stress arises in the brain and why mindfulness can interrupt these cycles. You'll begin to notice that exhaustion, pain, breathing problems, hypersensitivities, and brain fog can soften when there is less inner resistance and more willingness to simply notice what is present. Often, we see our body as an enemy that has let us down. In this module, you'll learn to shift that perspective. A key practice here is the body scan, a guided mindfulness practice that helps you relate to your body with kindness and rebuild trust. This releases inner tension, improves body awareness, and supports rest and sleep. By the end of this module, you'll understand what mindfulness truly is, how to apply it in daily life, and how it helps calm your nervous system. You'll know how to regulate yourself in stressful moments, relate to symptoms more calmly, and gradually bring more energy, clarity, and quality of life back into your everyday life. Module 2. Effective Stress Reduction. Mindful responding instead of automatic reacting. In this module, the focus is on making unconscious stress conscious. Since a large part of our stress operates below the surface, the first step toward reducing it is learning to notice it. Only when stress becomes visible can we begin to change how we relate to it. We uncover hidden patterns and create some distance from difficult thoughts, emotions, and body sensations. This allows you to respond more consciously and more calmly instead of reacting automatically. We work with the ABC model, which shows that it's not the event itself that creates stress, but our reaction to it. You'll also learn the 8 attitudinal qualities of mindfulness. These inner attitudes support a calmer, more balanced, and more helpful way of relating to our symptoms and challenges. As inner pressure decreases, the body can gradually return to a sense of calm and safety. Many people believe that meditation means having no thoughts at all. In this module, you'll see that this isn't true. Thoughts arise constantly, whether we want them or not. The goal of meditation is not to stop thoughts, but to relate more kindly to whatever is happening, whether we like it or not. By the end of this module, you'll understand how stress arises, how to recognize it early, and how to respond more calmly to difficult thoughts, symptoms, or emotions. You'll have practical tools to steady yourself more quickly, react with greater ease, and create the inner conditions your body needs in order to heal. Module 3. Working with our body. Befriending instead of resisting. In this module, we focus on changing how we relate to our body. Many of us experience the body as an enemy or see it as the one to blame. What's important to understand is this: the body is not the cause of your illness, it is the messenger. Through symptoms, it shows us that something has fallen out of balance. When we fight against the body, stress increases. When we work with it and begin to see it as an ally, stress decreases. This is how the nervous system gets the space it needs for regulation and healing. We talk about post-exertional malaise, which is the worsening of symptoms after physical or mental exertion. You learn how it develops, how to recognize it early, and how to prevent it. We also look at how to improve sleep quality. A key factor here is spending more time in a calm, restorative state during the day. Less stress during the day allows for a deeper recovery at night. In addition, we explore how to shape your nutrition in a way that best supports you and helps reduce inflammation. You learn to recognize your personal early warning signs in the body, such as pressure in the chest, tightness in the throat, or knot in the stomach. When you notice these signals early, you can pause in time and reduce stress before it becomes overwhelming. Another practical exercise you'll learn is the stop practice, a simple but highly effective tool for reducing stress in any situation. It takes just 1 minute and helps you pause, breathe, and recenter yourself. By the end of this module, you'll know how to work mindfully with your body instead of fighting against it. You'll recognize stress overload early, relate to your limits more consciously, and create the physical conditions needed for regeneration and healing. Your body can once again become a place of trust, calm, and support. And you'll know how to improve both your sleep and your nutrition. Module 4. Understanding stress. Making unconscious stress conscious. In this module, we dive deeper into what stress really is, how it arises, how it affects both body and mind, and why it plays such a central role in our illness. Many of us feel only the symptoms of stress, without understanding what's happening beneath the surface. Here, you'll learn to understand the underlying mechanisms because understanding is a crucial first step toward change. You'll discover why stress is actually useful from an evolutionary perspective. It helps us respond to challenges and adapt. In the short term, stress can make us more alert, focused, and capable. But when stress becomes chronic, the system tips out of balance and remains stuck in an alarm state. In this constant stress overload, the body can no longer regenerate properly. And this is exactly what keeps exhaustion, pain, and other symptoms going. We explore how chronic stress dysregulates the nervous system and why healing is only possible when we return to a state of relaxation. You learn how automatic thoughts and resistance toward symptoms increase stress and how to begin breaking this cycle. A key theme in this module is acceptance. Many of us fight internally against what is present, against exhaustion, pain, breathing problems, hypersensitivities, or brain fog. But this inner struggle keeps the nervous system tense. Acceptance does not mean giving up. It means stopping the fight against our symptoms. When we learn to meet what is present with more patience, understanding, and kindness, the body can finally begin to relax. You learn simple techniques to remain calmer in difficult moments, to actively soothe the nervous system. It's important to understand that even small changes can have a powerful effect over time. If we manage to relate to challenges just 1% more calmly each week, it may not seem like much. But over weeks or months, this steady shift can noticeably improve our well-being. By the end of this module, you'll understand what happens in your body when you're stressed and why relaxation is not a side issue but a key to healing. You'll see how acceptance and mindfulness help interrupt the stress cycle, opening the door to regeneration, calm, and health. Module 5. Working with stress, allowing thoughts, emotions, and body sensations as they are. In this module, you'll learn how to work with stress in a way that no longer lets it control you. Stress can't always be avoided, but we can learn to relate to it differently. And that is the key to regaining inner calm and stability. We explore what's called the discrepancy monitor, the gap between how things are and how we think they should be. This gap is what creates inner pressure. When we learn to simply notice and allow this discrepancy, rather than fighting it, more calm naturally arises. You learn that thoughts are not facts. A thought is simply an event in the mind. We don't have to believe it or act on it. By learning to notice thoughts, name them, and let them pass, we create inner distance and reduce stress. We also work with difficult emotions. Instead of suppressing or fighting them, we practice allowing them to be here. This creates space and distance so we can relate to them more clearly and wisely. You'll learn a simple, practical exercise that helps you work with strong emotions in everyday life and return to balance more quickly. The same approach applies to difficult body sensations. You'll learn how to allow them and resist them less, which reduces inner tension. By the end of this module, you'll have practical tools to relate more skillfully to challenging thoughts, emotions, and body sensations. This strengthens inner stability and supports your path toward healing. Module 6. Mindful Communication, Fostering Calm and Connection. In this module, we explore how we connect with other people and how communication can either increase stress or help reduce it. Many of us don't realize how strong words, tone of voice, or unspoken expectations affect the nervous system. Social situations, conflicts, or misunderstandings can create a great deal of inner pressure and intensify symptoms. That's why it's so important to bring mindfulness into the way we communicate. We begin by noticing what happens inside us while we're communicating. Often we react automatically out of defensiveness, fear, guilt, or the need to be right. These patterns usually operate unconsciously and can leave us feeling stressed, misunderstood, or drained. When we learn to pause before responding, space opens up. Space for awareness, understanding, and a new way of relating to others. You learn how to speak more consciously and listen more mindfully. Instead of mentally preparing your next response, you practice being fully present, with an open mind and an open heart. This quality of listening creates connection, trust, and a mutual understanding. We also work with compassion in communication. When we begin to relate to ourselves and others with more kindness, stress naturally decreases. You'll learn simple exercises that help you stay grounded in conversations, set healthy boundaries, and remain open at the same time. A practical tool in this module is the 90-second rule of emotions. It shows that strong emotions like anger, fear, or frustration usually pass within about 90 seconds if we don't keep feeding them. When we stay mindful during these moments, we avoid many unnecessary conflicts and create more inner and outer peace. By the end of this module, you'll know how to reduce stress in conversations, prevent misunderstandings, and strengthen relationships. This leads to greater trust, ease, and emotional stability. Another important step on your path toward healing. Module 7. Mindful Choices. Recognizing what supports our well-being. In this module, we focus on becoming more aware of what truly supports you and what adds to your stress. Everything you come into contact with each day affects your nervous system. People, thoughts, activities, sounds, media, food, and even your inner dialogue. Some things nourish you and give you energy, while others drain you and keep the nervous system in an alert state. We begin by observing these influences with mindfulness. You learn to sense more clearly what strengthens your system and what overwhelms it. With this awareness, you can increasingly make choices that guide you toward calm, healing, and well-being. A central element of this module is self-compassion. Many of us are very hard on ourselves. We expect more than our body can give and judge ourselves when symptoms arise. This inner harshness creates additional stress. Through self-compassion, you learn to relate to yourself the way you would to a good friend, with understanding, warmth, and patience. You also learn simple practices that help you notice and absorb positive experiences more fully. The brain naturally registers negative experiences more quickly than positive ones, an ancient survival mechanism. By learning to stay with pleasant moments a little longer, we strengthen inner balance and resilience. By the end of this module, you will be able to recognize more clearly what supports you and what burdens you, and to make choices that actively support your healing path. You'll have learned to treat yourself more kindly, strengthen yourself from within, and consciously influence your well-being. Step by step, this creates a mindful way of living that stabilizes your nervous system and helps restore your energy and health. Module 8. Returning to balance. Navigating setbacks and supporting healing. In this final module, we learn to see setbacks as a natural part of the healing process. Instead of feeling discouraged by them, we explore how mindfulness, acceptance, and self-compassion help us stay calm and stable during difficult phases. We come to understand that healing is not a linear path, but one that includes ups and downs. What matters is not a few bad days, but the overall upward direction over time. We also rediscover that the body is naturally oriented towards balance and healing. What interferes with this process is chronic stress. So instead of asking, what is making me sick, we shift the focus to what is blocking my healing and how can I gently address this in everyday life. Together, we reflect on what has changed since the beginning of the program, how your relationship with stress has evolved, which practices support you the most, and which inner attitudes help you stay grounded. This reflection makes visible how far you've come and offers guidance for the time beyond the program. We also explore how to maintain your practice over the long term. You'll receive concrete strategies for integrating mindfulness naturally into your daily life. This helps keep your nervous system stable and allows the balance you regained to strengthen and deepen over time. By the end of this module, you'll know how to meet setbacks with greater ease, rebuild trust in your body, and integrate mindfulness into your life in a sustainable way. After having gone through the 8 modules, let's take a brief look at what's included in the healing program. The healing program includes around 100 short video lessons with a total of approximately 12 hours of video content. In addition, you'll receive 11 guided meditations, a variety of practical exercises, self-reflection prompts, a comprehensive course workbook, and home practices after each module. All of this helps you integrate what you've learned directly into your daily life. You can access all content anytime and from anywhere on your laptop, tablet, or smartphone, completely flexibly and at your own pace. How long does the program take? The healing program is designed to be completed over 8 weeks. The idea is to work through 1 module per week with about 2.5 hours of content each, resulting in a total duration of roughly 2 months. That said, because I know from personal experience how limited energy often is in our conditions, the program is fully flexible. If you prefer, you can spread it out over several months. What matters is not speed, but staying connected to the process in a way that fits your own rhythm. The program adapts to your life and your energy level, not the other way around. Which versions are available? The healing program is available in 3 versions: the 2-year access, the lifetime access, and the coaching version. In the coaching version, you'll have a personal 45-minute video call with me after each module. During these sessions, we clarify your questions, create clarity, and discuss concrete next steps on your path toward healing. Why does the healing program work? The healing program is not just about theoretical knowledge, it's about real change. We can understand everything about our condition on an intellectual level, but if we don't actively apply what we learn, very little will actually change. I personally lived with a chronic exhaustion condition for over 6 years. I know exactly what it feels like when the body no longer cooperates, when even small efforts feel overwhelming, and when no treatment seems to truly help. Over time, I gradually discovered what genuinely makes a difference and what doesn't. Today, I'm fully recovered. As a qualified MBSR and mindfulness teacher, I combined my personal experience with a scientifically grounded approach and developed the healing program from that foundation. It brings together everything I would have wished for back then, a clear, structured path that helps you move step by step from the stress mode into the relaxation mode. That is exactly how your nervous system finds its way back into balance, symptoms begin to ease, and healing becomes possible. What makes the healing program special? The healing program is designed to empower you to help yourself. It teaches you a method that enables you to work more skillfully with your symptoms, your illness, and your individual challenges. I provide the knowledge, the structure, and the tools, but only you can apply them in your daily life. Because ultimately, only you have the ability to reduce your stress and improve your well-being. Only you can choose how you relate to your body, your emotions, and your thoughts. When you learn to do this, you become more independent. You become your own coach, someone who understands and supports themselves in the best possible way. And that is exactly how real, lasting healing becomes possible. Instead of continuing to search for solutions outside of ourselves, we turn inward and ask, what can I do to support myself in the best possible way? This shift in perspective is a crucial step on the path towards healing. Healing begins now. It's important to understand that healing can only happen in this moment, right now. When I was ill myself, I often believed that I would feel better at some point in the future, maybe in a week, a month, or after the next treatment. But that turned out to be a misconception. Healing doesn't automatically happen at some later point in time. Healing begins when we start engaging consciously with the present moment, right now. Every single moment is an opportunity to work with how we relate to what we're experiencing right now. In each moment, you have a choice in how you respond to your symptoms, your thoughts, and your emotions. If right now you can allow your symptoms just a little more and fight them a little less, you are doing exactly the work that helps calm your system and move you towards healing. That's how change begins, and the healing programs offers you an ideal starting point for that journey. If you're ready to actively support your health and regain your life through a scientifically grounded approach, then this program is exactly right for you. And the best part, you can try the program completely risk-free for 2 weeks. If you find that it's not the right fit for you, you'll of course get your money back. You can find all the information about the program on my website at healing-space.online. I'd be truly happy to welcome you into the video program and support you on your path toward more clarity, energy, and health. Thank you, and I wish you all the best on your journey ahead.